The silence was deafening. My mother sat there, frozen, her fork halfway to her mouth. The green beans, still dripping. The family dinner that she had so carefully orchestrated, suddenly felt like a funeral. On my phone screen, clear as day, there she was. My own mother. Stuffing jewelry into her purse at Mrs. Henderson's house. The same woman who had just finished lecturing me, for the 100th time, about the importance of honesty. Well? I said, my voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Explain this, Mom. My father stopped chewing. My younger sister, she just stared. The grandfather clock in the hallway, tick, 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 marking each second of her panic. You see, for 23 years, my mother had been the family saint. The woman who never missed church. The one who volunteered at every charity event. The perfect neighbor who baked cookies for everyone on the block. And for 23 years, she had been stealing from them. But tonight was different. Tonight, I had proof. And tonight, I was done being the disappointment in this family. My mother's face went pale. Not just pale, ghostly white. Like she had seen a spirit. Her hand started trembling, and that fork, it clattered onto her plate. Sweetie. She whispered, her voice cracking. How did I get this video? I finished her sentence. That's really what you're worried about right now. The room felt smaller somehow. Like the walls were closing in. My father cleared his throat, the way he always did when he was uncomfortable. My sister, she looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. But me? I felt powerful. For the first time in my entire life. I held all the cards. You want to know how I got here? How the golden child, the perfect daughter, became the woman sitting across from a thief at Sunday dinner? Well, buckle up. Because this story, it's about to get very, very messy. Growing up in the Morrison household was like living in a museum. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to look pristine. My mother, Carol Morrison, was the queen of our little suburban kingdom. And let me tell you, she ruled with an iron fist wrapped in a velvet glove. From the outside, we looked like the American dream. Big house on Maple Street. White picket fence. 2 cars in the driveway. My father worked at the bank, my mother, well, she didn't work. She managed. She organized. She controlled. But inside those perfect walls, things were very, very different. I remember when I was 8 years old. 8. I had accidentally broken one of her precious china teacups. The ones from her grandmother's set. I was just trying to help with the dishes, you know? Trying to be a good daughter. The scream that came out of her mouth, it still gives me chills. You stupid, clumsy girl, she shrieked. Do you have any idea how much that cost? Do you? She made me stand in the corner for 3 hours. 3 hours. While she called every relative we had, telling them about my destructive behavior. Making sure everyone knew that I was the problem child. And my father? He just sat there reading his newspaper. Like nothing was happening. That was the pattern, you see. She would explode over the smallest things. A B on my report card, instead of an A. Forgetting to make my bed. Leaving a glass of water on the coffee table without a coaster. But God forbid anyone from outside the family saw her lose control. Oh no. To the neighbors, to the church ladies, to her book club friends. Carol Morrison was a saint. When I was 12, I started keeping a journal. Secret thoughts, you know? Normal kid stuff. Dreams about boys, complaints about school, the usual teenage drama. She found it. Not only did she read every single page, she photocopied the worst parts and mailed them to my grandmother. My grandmother. Can you imagine? She wanted to make sure everyone in the family knew that I was troubled. The humiliation, it burned. But what hurt more was the betrayal. I had trusted those pages with my deepest thoughts. And she weaponized them. My sister, Emma, she learned early to stay invisible. To never rock the boat. Smart girl. She figured out that the less attention you drew, the safer you were. But me? I couldn't help myself. I questioned things. I pushed back. I had opinions. Big mistake. By the time I turned 16, I had been grounded more times than I could count. Not for drinking, or drugs, or sneaking out with boys. No. For things like arguing about my curfew. Asking why I couldn't go to college out of state. Wondering out loud why she never worked, when we were supposedly so tight on money. Money doesn't grow on trees, young lady, she would say, while wearing a brand new designer handbag. Your father works very hard to provide for this family. And speaking of money, that's where things get really interesting. We were always struggling. At least, that's what she told us. We can't afford that vacation. We can't buy you those shoes. Do you think money grows on trees? But somehow she always had money for herself. New jewelry. Designer clothes. Expensive skincare products. The latest gadgets. When I asked about it once, she got that look. That cold, calculating look that meant I had crossed a line. Everything I buy for this family, she said slowly. My appearance reflects on all of us. When I look good, we all look good. The logic was twisted. But I was just a kid. What did I know? Let me know in the comments where you are watching this video from. I'd love to know. As I got older, things started to click into place. The expensive items that would just appear. The shopping bags she would hide in her closet. The way she would change the subject whenever anyone asked about money. And then, there were the stories. Oh, the stories she would tell at dinner parties. Poor Mrs. Chen next door, she would say, shaking her head sadly. She's been having such a hard time since her husband died. I've been trying to help her organize her finances, you know. Such a sweet woman. But so naive about money. Or, I've been helping the Johnsons clean out their attic. They have so much clutter, they don't even know what's valuable anymore. I'm doing them a favor, really. At the time, I thought she was being generous. Charitable. Now I know better. She wasn't helping these people. She was studying them. Learning their routines. Finding out what they owned, where they kept it, when they wouldn't be home. My mother wasn't a saint. She was a predator. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. It was supposed to be a normal day. I had driven over to visit Mrs. Henderson, our elderly neighbor. Sweet woman, probably 75 years old. Her husband had passed away 2 months earlier, and she was struggling. Really struggling. I brought her some soup. Homemade. Because that's what decent people do, they help their neighbors. Oh, Sarah, she said when she opened the door. Her eyes were red and puffy. She'd been crying. I'm so glad you're here. I don't know what to do. She invited me in, and the house, it felt different. Empty. Not just because Mr. Henderson was gone, but literally empty. Things were missing. Mrs. Henderson, I said carefully, where's your jewelry box? The beautiful one that used to sit on your dresser? Her face crumpled. I can't find it anywhere. I've looked everywhere, Sarah. It had my wedding ring in it. My mother's pearls. Everything. My stomach dropped. When did you notice it was gone? A few days ago. But honestly, with everything that's been happening, I thought maybe I put it somewhere safe and forgot. You know how scattered I've been since Harold died. She led me to the living room, and that's when I saw it. More missing pieces. The silver candlesticks that used to sit on her mantel. The small crystal vase from her coffee table. The antique clock from the hallway. Mrs. Henderson, I said slowly, have you had any visitors lately? Anyone helping you organize things? Oh yes, she said, brightening a little. Your mother has been such an angel. She's been coming by almost every day, helping me sort through Harold's things. I don't know what I would have done without her. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. My mother. When was the last time she was here? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Yesterday afternoon. She helped me go through some boxes in the basement. Such a sweet woman, your mother. Always thinking of others. I excused myself, said I needed to use the bathroom. But instead, I went to Mrs. Henderson's bedroom. I had to see for myself. The jewelry box was definitely gone. But more than that, I could see the outline where it had sat on her dresser. Dust marks. Everything else was covered in a thin layer of dust, except for that one clean spot. Someone had taken it recently. I came back downstairs, my heart pounding. Mrs. Henderson, have you filed a police report about the missing items? Oh no, dear. I'm sure they'll turn up. Things don't just disappear, you know? I probably put them somewhere safe and forgot. The way she said it, so trusting. So innocent. It broke my heart. I drove home in a daze. My mother's car was in the driveway. She was probably inside, preparing for another one of her perfect dinner parties. Acting like the model citizen she pretended to be. I needed proof. Real proof. Not just suspicions. So I waited. I watched. I started paying attention to her routines, her excuses, her patterns. I'm going to help Mrs. Chen organize her garage today, she announced the next morning over breakfast. That's nice of you, Mom, my father said, not looking up from his newspaper. But I looked up. I watched her face. The way she smiled, it wasn't warm. It was calculating. After she left, I made a decision. A decision that would change everything. I followed her. I parked down the street from Mrs. Chen's house and waited. My mother went inside, normal enough. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. She came out to her car. Twice. Each time carrying a small bag. Bags that she put in her trunk. Mrs. Chen wasn't even home. Her car wasn't in the driveway. My mother had a key. I waited until she left, then I drove around the block and parked again. I needed to think. I needed to process what I had just seen. That's when I made another decision. A decision that would give me the ammunition I needed. I set up a camera. Not inside Mrs. Chen's house, that would be illegal. But I had a small action camera, the kind people use for hiking. And Mrs. Chen's living room window, it faced the street. If someone was walking around inside, moving things, you could see them. I waited 3 more days. 3 days of watching my mother play the perfect daughter at dinner. 3 days of listening to her talk about helping the neighbors and being a good Christian. And then I got it. The footage was crystal clear. My mother, letting herself into Mrs. Chen's house with a key. My mother, going through Mrs. Chen's cabinets. My mother, taking a small silver frame from the mantel and putting it in her purse. But the moment that really got me, was when she stopped in front of Mrs. Chen's family photos. She picked up a picture of Mrs. Chen's grandchildren, looked at it for a long moment, and then carefully moved it to cover the spot where the silver frame had been. She was covering her tracks. Making sure Mrs. Chen wouldn't notice right away. My own mother was a thief. A calculated, methodical thief who preyed on grieving widows and elderly neighbors. And tonight I was going to confront her. Before I tell you what I did next, if you're enjoying the story, please subscribe. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. I had the video loaded on my phone. I had practiced what I was going to say. I had prepared for her denials, her excuses, her attempts to turn it around on me. What I hadn't prepared for was the look in her eyes when she realized she'd been caught. Pure, cold rage. The video kept playing on my phone screen. And my mother, she just sat there, watching herself steal. Turn it off. Her voice was barely a whisper. No. I held the phone steady. I want everyone to see this. Dad. Emma, look at your perfect wife and mother. My father finally looked up from his plate. His face, it went through about 5 different emotions in 10 seconds. Confusion. Disbelief. Recognition. Horror. And then, something I'd never seen before. Shame. Carol. He started. Don't. My mother's voice was sharp now. Dangerous. Don't say a word, Richard. But I wasn't done. Not even close. This is from yesterday, Mom. Yesterday. While you were sitting here at dinner, telling us about how we need to be more grateful. How we need to appreciate what we have. How money doesn't grow on trees. I scrolled to another video. And this is from last week. Mrs. Patterson's house. Remember? When you told us you were helping her organize her late husband's office? The second video started playing. Same story. Different house. My mother, methodically going through drawers. Pocketing small, valuable items. Emma made a sound. Like a small animal caught in a trap. Mom, what is this? It's exactly what it looks like, I said, not taking my eyes off my mother. She's been stealing from our neighbors. Elderly people. Widows. People who trusted her. My mother's composure was cracking. I could see it in her hands. They were shaking now. Actually shaking. You have no idea. She started, her voice getting higher. You have no idea what you're talking about. Really? I stood up, still holding the phone. Then explain it. Explain why you have a key to Mrs. Chen's house. Explain why you're taking things from people's homes. Explain why Mrs. Henderson's jewelry box is sitting in your closet right now. The silence that followed, it was deafening. My father set down his fork. Slowly. Like he was moving underwater. Carol. His voice was different now. Colder. Is this true? And that's when she snapped. Yes, this true, she screamed, shooting to her feet. Are you seriously asking me that? After everything I've done for this family? After all the years I've sacrificed? She was spiraling. Completely losing control. The mask, it was finally coming off. I held this family together. I made sure we looked respectable. I made sure we had nice things. And this is how you repay me? By spying on me? By recording me like some common criminal? Because you are a common criminal. I shot back. You're a thief. You steal from old people who trust you. They don't even know what they have, she shrieked. Half of them are losing their minds anyway. Those things were just sitting there, collecting dust. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Emma started crying. Quiet tears at first, then bigger sobs. My father, he just stared at his wife like he was seeing her for the first time. So you admit it, I said quietly. You admit you've been stealing. My mother's face went from red to pale to red again. She was breathing hard. Like she'd been running. I provided for this family, she hissed. Do you think your father's salary was enough? Do you think we could afford this house, this lifestyle, on what he makes at that pathetic little bank? So you stole it, I said. You stole it from people who welcomed you into their homes. People who thought you were their friend. I took what they wouldn't miss, she screamed. I took things that were just sitting there. Things they'd forgotten they even had. Mrs. Henderson's wedding ring? I asked. She forgot about her wedding ring? For the first time, my mother went completely silent. Her mother's pearls? Her grandmother's jewelry box? She forgot about those too? My mother's mouth opened and closed. Like a fish out of water. And Mrs. Patterson's husband's watch? The one she keeps on her nightstand because it still smells like his cologne? She forgot about that? Each word hit her like a physical blow. I could see it. The reality of what she'd done, it was finally sinking in. My father stood up slowly. His chair scraped against the floor. Where are they, Carol? His voice was deadly quiet. Where are the things you took? Richard, you don't understand. Where are they? I had never heard my father yell like that. Emma jumped. I jumped. Even my mother took a step back. They're in the spare bedroom closet, she whispered. But Richard, I can explain. He walked out of the dining room. We could hear him climbing the stairs. Opening doors. Moving boxes. And then, silence. When he came back down, his face was gray. Actually gray. There are dozens of items up there, Carol. Dozens. Jewelry, watches, silver pieces, antiques. His voice broke. How long has this been going on? My mother collapsed back into her chair. The fight had gone out of her completely. A few years, she whispered. How many years? I demanded. 5, maybe 6. My father sat down heavily. Like his legs couldn't support him anymore. 6 years, he repeated. 6 years of lying. 6 years of stealing from our neighbors. Our friends. Emma was sobbing openly now. Mom, how could you do this? How could you steal from Mrs. Henderson? She's so sweet, she brought us cookies when I had pneumonia. And that's when my mother tried one last desperate play. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Crocodile tears. Sarah, honey, please. I did this for you. For all of us. I just wanted us to have nice things. I wanted us to fit in with the other families in the neighborhood. But I was done. Done with her manipulation. Done with her lies. Done with her excuses. No, Mom, I said, my voice steady now. You did this for you. Because you're selfish. Because you're entitled. Because you think you deserve whatever you want, no matter who it hurts. I held up my phone again. And now, everyone's going to know exactly who Carol Morrison really is. What happened next was beautiful chaos. My mother tried to grab my phone. Actually lunged across the table, knocking over water glasses and sending the mashed potatoes flying everywhere. Give me that, she screamed. You can't show that to anyone. But my father. My quiet, passive father who had spent 25 years avoiding confrontation, he caught her wrist. Sit down, Carol. 2 words. That's all it took. She sat. Sarah, he said, not looking at me. Send me those videos. Dad. Send them to me. Now. I did. And then I watched my father, my conflict-avoiding, peacekeeping father, make the hardest phone call of his life. He called the police. My mother went completely silent. Like someone had flipped a switch. She just sat there, staring at the wall while my father explained the situation to the dispatcher. Yes, we have evidence of theft, multiple thefts. Yes, I understand you'll need to send someone over. Emma was still crying, but quieter now. Like she was in shock. And me? I felt empty. Relieved, but empty. Like I'd been holding my breath for 23 years and could finally exhale. The police arrived 45 minutes later. 2 officers. Officer Martinez and Officer Kim. They were professional, thorough, and completely unimpressed with my mother's attempts to explain herself. Ma'am, we're going to need you to show us where you've stored the items. My father led them upstairs. I followed. Emma stayed in the kitchen, probably couldn't handle seeing it. The spare bedroom closet, it was like a treasure trove. Boxes and boxes of stolen items. Jewelry, silverware, small antiques, watches, all carefully organized and labeled. Officer Martinez whistled low. How long has this been going on? According to her, 6 years, my father said quietly. We're going to need to photograph everything. Document it all. This is extensive. They spent 3 hours cataloging evidence. 3 hours of my mother sitting silently at the kitchen table while strangers documented her crimes. And then, they arrested her. Right there in our perfect little dining room, they put handcuffs on Carol Morrison. Read her rights. Walked her out the front door while the neighbors watched from their windows. The irony wasn't lost on me. The woman who cared so much about appearances was being led away in handcuffs for the whole neighborhood to see. After they left, the house felt different. Lighter somehow. Like a weight had been lifted. My father sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. 25 years, he kept saying. 25 years and I never knew. But that was just the beginning. The next morning, the doorbell started ringing. And it didn't stop. First, it was Mrs. Henderson. My father had called her the night before, told her what had happened. She came over with tears in her eyes and a photo of her missing jewelry box. "I just want my wedding ring back," she said. "Everything else I don't care about. But that ring. We found it in a small velvet pouch in one of the boxes. When we gave it back to her, she cried. Actually cried with relief. Then came Mrs. Chen. Then Mrs. Patterson. Then the Johnsons. Then people I didn't even recognize, elderly neighbors from 3 blocks away who had somehow heard what happened. One by one, they came to reclaim what was theirs. The stories they told, they were heartbreaking. Mrs. Patterson had been looking for her late husband's watch for months. "I thought I was losing my mind," she said. "I knew I had put it somewhere safe, but I couldn't find it anywhere." Mr. Johnson had accused his own son of stealing his father's war medals. "We had a huge fight about it," he said, his voice cracking. "My boy, he's not speaking to me anymore because he thinks I don't trust him." The damage my mother had done, it went beyond just stolen objects. She had damaged relationships, caused pain, made people doubt themselves, doubt their families. But the consequences, they kept coming. 3 days after her arrest, my mother was released on bail. She came home, but she wasn't the same person. The confidence was gone. The superiority. The control. She looked small. "I'm sorry," she whispered when she walked through the door. "I'm so sorry." But sorry doesn't undo 6 years of theft. Sorry doesn't repair the trust she had shattered. My father had already contacted a lawyer. Not to defend her, but to start divorce proceedings. "I can't do this anymore, Carol," he said simply. "I can't look at you the same way." The house went up for sale 2 weeks later. My father couldn't afford the mortgage on his own, and honestly, none of us wanted to stay there anyway. Too many memories. Too much shame. My mother tried, she really tried to make amends. She wrote letters to every person she had stolen from. Offered to pay for anything that couldn't be returned. Begged for forgiveness. Some people forgave her. Mrs. Henderson, sweet woman that she is, actually wrote back. Said she was praying for my mother's soul. Others weren't so forgiving. Mrs. Patterson's letter was short. "Stay away from me. Stay away from my family. If I see you near my house again, I'll call the police." The legal consequences were significant. 6 years of theft. Dozens of victims. Hundreds of stolen items. The prosecutor wasn't interested in plea deals. My mother was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Plus restitution. Plus community service. Plus probation. But the social consequences, those were worse. Our church asked her not to return. The volunteer organizations she had been part of, they quietly removed her from their member lists. The neighbors who had once waved and smiled, they crossed the street to avoid her. The perfect life she had built, it crumbled completely. Emma moved in with our father's sister in another state. Said she needed a fresh start. Somewhere nobody knew our family name. My father sold the house, bought a small apartment across town. Started seeing a therapist. 25 years, he said to me one day. I enabled this for 25 years by not asking questions. And me? I moved away too. Got a job in another city. Changed my phone number. Started over. But before I left, I got one final text from my mother. It was sent from prison. She was allowed limited phone access. Sarah, it read. I know you'll probably never forgive me. But you were right to expose me. I was sick. I needed help. Thank you for being brave enough to stop me. I love you. I stared at that text for a long time. And then I deleted it. Some bridges, once they're burned, they can't be rebuilt. 2 years later, I still think about that dinner. The way the silence felt when the video started playing. The way my mother's face changed when she realized she'd been caught. The way my father's world just collapsed. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. If I wish I had handled it differently. If I feel bad about destroying my family. The answer is no. My family was already destroyed. It had been destroyed for years, we just didn't know it yet. My mother had been poisoning it slowly, lie by lie, theft by theft. I didn't destroy anything. I just pulled back the curtain. And you know what? The neighbors she stole from, they're doing better now. Mrs. Henderson moved in with her daughter in Florida. She sends me Christmas cards. Mrs. Patterson started a neighborhood watch program. She says she feels safer now. The truth, it's painful. But it's also healing. My father is different now. Stronger. He's dating someone, a nice woman from his book club. Someone honest. Someone real. Emma is in college now. Pre-med. Says she wants to help people, the right way. And my mother? She served her time. Got out 8 months ago. Lives in a small apartment on the other side of town. Works at a grocery store. Goes to therapy twice a week. She tried to contact me once. Sent a letter through my father. Said she was in recovery, not just from theft, but from the personality disorder that made her think she was entitled to whatever she wanted. I read the letter. All of it. And then I threw it away. Some people deserve second chances. But some betrayals, they go too deep. Some trust, once it's broken, it can't be repaired. My mother taught me a lot of things growing up. How to set a proper table. How to write thank you notes. How to smile even when you're angry. But the most important thing she taught me by accident. She taught me that honesty isn't just about telling the truth. It's about living it. Every day. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Even when it costs you everything. That dinner, that terrible, explosive dinner, it was the most honest moment our family had ever shared. And sometimes, honesty is the only thing that can save you. Even if it destroys everything else first. If you liked this story, check out this other one on the screen. A story about secrets, lies, and the price we pay for both. See you there.